Paul Mario Koto, how are we doing? I saw that list of no cell phones and no heckling, and I'm like, I'm a university professor. That is my home, with students on their phones and or saying, you suck. So this is going to feel very out of character for me. Thank you, Caleb. I really appreciate that. I really should take that 40 under 40 off my profile, because that was some years ago, you know. But I will hold on to it. I was practicing this talk the other night, and my 17-year-old's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just trying to prepare for this thing called Nerdy Nights, where you have to be kind of nerdy, but also engaging in a public audience. And she goes, well, you can do the nerdy. I'm like, cheers. Nothing grounds you more than having a teenager in the house. But it's a good way to start. I wanted to talk about this topic, if I can, of understanding what it means to know who we are, how we know who we are, and how marketers exploit this. And I thought, what's the best way to explain who I am as an example? And I thought that would be with my pepeha. So I want to start with my pepeha very quickly. So, ko he mare te mangapai, ko te kani hi te awa, ko sing te whānau, ko, where are we up to? So, Ngāti Inio, ko jata hapu, ko Ekant Veer wingwa, heka mahi o te whare wānanga waitaha. So, I whakapapa to India originally, that's my heritage. You look at me and go, really? Are you sure? And after about 40 so years of being told, are you sure you're Indian? Yanisha and I, my wife here, bought each other genetic tests for our Christmas. And she's got this beautiful mix of European and Scandinavian, tiny bit of Nigerian. We're like, oh, someone's been naughty along the way. I am 99.3% North Indian and Pakistan. I am as Indian. And then 3 months later, they came back and said, actually, we've got rid of Pakistan. You're just North India. I mean, as inbred as you can be. A year later, they came back and said, we found the 0.7. I'm like, oh, here we go. 0.7% Eastern European, so I'm white. But some spice trader got lonely and left a present along the way, I think. So this is who I am, and I wanted to share that with you. And then I thought, well, let's see what Google thinks I am. So this is my Google pepeha. And all of you can look up what Google thinks of you. You can go into your Google settings, and it will try and tell you who you are. It's a bit hard to see, but it says I'm male, accurate. 35 to 44, just squeezing in, baby. I speak 2 languages, apparently, one of them being Hindi. I don't. But I talk enough about being Indian that maybe it thinks I do. Relationships, I'm married, few. High income, yeah, baby. Advanced degree, C-mum, a PhD's a real doctor, fuck's sake. Healthcare, apparently. Large employer, yeah, all right. Homeowners, I like this one, not parents. I have 2 kids. And I think, and I got to be careful because I realize this is being recorded, I block a lot of my friends who post too much about their kids online. I'm like, I don't want to see your baby. I've had 2 of those. We know what they look like. They're cute to you, not to me. You know, that sort of thing. So Google clearly thinks I'm not a parent. You can go deeper and you can see what ads are targeted to you based on your search history, based on what you post on social media, based on things like that. So it says travel media and publications and beverages. 1 out of 2 is there. Specialist travel, financial planning and management. Yanisha uses my phone from time to time. Paul, where is Paul? He's coming up next. So Paul, yeah, there we go. So Paul's going to be talking a bit about this as well. Vitamins and supplements, no. Meat and poultry, yes. All these things is what Google tries to guess about us. And from our understanding of what Google tries to guess about us, it tries to target ads. And they tell us this is because we're trying to make your experience more useful for you, more accessible, better for you, blah, blah, blah. No, they're just trying to make the most money out of you. Let's be honest. This is where the data that is gathered about us is being used, harvested, and exploited in order to try and provide the best opportunity for you to make some money for them. How many of you remember this movie, The Matrix? How many of you remember this scene where, you know, they kind of say, no, you don't. I'm lying to you. I'm a marketer. This was when they said humans have been reduced down to batteries. However, in reality, our cells have been reduced down into data. We are just data points now for a lot of marketers out there. And as a result of those data points, we are now becoming more and more valuable for marketers as they go along. This is an old comic I'm going to show you now. If you haven't seen this before, this is quite a good one, where the pigs say, "Isn't it great? We have to pay for nothing in the barn. Yeah, even the food is free." If you are not paying for it, you are not the customer, you're the product being sold. And it says this about Facebook, but to be honest, you can add in anything. For my sins, I was part of the team that did the communications plan for Flybys when it first came into New Zealand about 20 years ago. As a young man, I didn't know anything different about this. I was just doing my job. And when you saw how much data is now being harvested and sold about you, it's one of those things that kind of goes, wow, that is quite exploitative that people don't realize. I tried to look up an image for cookies online, and that's the best I could do. There isn't a great picture of internet cookies, so just straight up cookies. But Google, OneCard, if you have any of these things, that data is being used in order to try and sell you, market to you more products and services that are better for you or better targeted for you. As a scientist or as a quasi-scientist, I like to do experiments, and I wonder if you guys can help me with an experiment to show how we use this. Can I have a volunteer? You don't need to get up. I just need someone who's willing to give 3 minutes of their time and bare their soul for me. Someone, yeah, go for it. What's your name, sir? Henry. Henry, do you have any hobbies? Do you have something that you love doing that you spend your time doing? Ooh, play a lot of video games. What are you playing at the moment? Hi-Fi Rush. Oh, I don't know about it. But let's just go with video games. Now, video games is something you enjoy doing. What's something you really hate doing? Like, I mean, this is the thing that drains your soul. This is your partner next to you? No, I was going to say, careful with what you say. Mowing the lawns. Preach, brother. Okay. What's one reason you like playing video games? Just one reason. What's something that gives you some joy from that? Yes, switch off, kind of? Switch off? Good. And what's the opposite of feeling like you've switched off or you take your minds off things? What's the complete opposite of that? Doing your PhD. At UC? In computer science. I'm also the Associate Dean of Postgraduate Research. My door is always open, sir. Why do you feel the need to switch off at times? What draws that into you? Yeah, maybe, but what is an emotion that comes when you're like, I am just switched off for a bit? Relieved. I like it. And what would be the opposite for you of feeling relieved? Like if you were complete opposite of relieved, what would that be? Not relieved. Well, that's easy. Now, usually I do this over a half hour with someone. And the reason I'm asking the antithesis, thank you for a second, I'll come back to you, don't worry. The reason I ask the antithesis is because sometimes we get a much better understanding of someone's statement when we know the antithesis. I had someone do this in a public setting like this who said, "This makes me happy." And I said, "What's the opposite of happy?" And everyone says, "Sad, you dick." And he said, "Angry." Now that gives you a really nuanced understanding of what happiness is to that person. One more time. Why do you like that feeling of relief or relieved? Oh, someone give them a hug, even if you're not their partner. Fewer worries. All right. And when you are kind of stuck in the here and now as an adult, what does that emotion feel like to you? Or what was the opposite of that? Generally fine. Are you telling me that because there's 100 people here? Or yeah? No. Generally fine is when you ask someone, how's your day been? And they said, really average. Generally fine. Okay. I'm going to pause there. Can we give them a clap? Because that was pretty cool. Now, let's say I actually did this properly. I spent some time and spent some time with him and thought about the sort of motivations, drivers. I started with video games, just video games. I didn't ask him about anything that was deep and dark in him. But already I've got this idea of feeling relieved, feeling like there's a time where he feels a bit nostalgic as a child. And so if I was going to sell him a product, I'd say, don't you wish there was a time where you could just switch off? Just forget about the cares of your world. You don't have to feel obliged to do all the shit that you're forced to, like mowing the lawns or doing your PhD. And you can just remember what it's like to be a kid again. isn't that something that would be really good to solve your problems? That would work for you. And we can do that really quickly. Now, I choose to... Thank you, I appreciate that. I've only had one person in 20 years cry on stage as a result of that. So that's good that I've kept my record. We as marketers like to try and do that, to try and understand what drives people, what motivates people, because hopefully that can help us identify how you fit in, because fitting in is so central to what people want. Even if you're the most antisocial person, you still want to feel like you have an identity and you feel like you belong somewhere. So when we fit in, we can start to say, well, this is how the products and services that we offer help you fit in. Now, I'm a weird marketer. I am a professor of marketing. I have spent my life studying marketing, but I'm a marketer that hates marketing. I am an advertising researcher that doesn't watch ads. I am this weird person. I take a critical lens to it, not because I think it's evil, but I think the way in which the skills, the tools that we use are manipulated can be used for evil. But when it's used for good, we can see some amazing things. But some of the evil things that you will see is that people will say, if you buy our product, you will be sexy, you will be loved, you will live longer, you will be respected, you will be seen as successful, blah, 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 blah. While just being you and feeling included because of you is such a central part to what I think well-being is. Every time you need to hide a part of who you are in order to fit in with someone else, because no one wants to be Spider-Man, apparently, then we always feel a little bit hurt. Does that make sense? And marketers will say, if you are feeling left out, this is how we can do it. I didn't know how nerdy we needed to be. This is my first nerd night. So some academic literature. So if you want to learn more about this, can I give a shout out to Claire and Paul's work in the International Journal of Research, Research in Marketing. Great paper on brand extension fit. If you've got a brand, here's how you can extend it by adding other things in. Another one is my dear friend Susan, who wrote this paper in 1998. Okay, don't go on consumers and their brands. How people engage with their brands. And this paper is worth the price of admission just for Table 1, which describes all the different brand relationships, like arranged marriages, committed partnerships, flings. Sometimes we have flings with our brands. We try it for a bit, but we throw it away. Secret affairs. How many people have brands they have secret affairs for? You're a complete anti-consumerist, but you really like this brand of shoes, you know, that sort of thing, and you're dedicated to it. These sorts of things are very normal. These relationships we have with our brands are very normal, and marketers exploit it because they know they're going to get more out of you as a result. How many people remember this? The Dove Real Body campaign. Our desire to see authenticity is so strong that when this campaign came out, so many people said, thank you. There's a campaign that is real, there's a campaign that's authentic, without realizing that all these images were super, super Photoshopped still. They were still smoothed out, they were still Photoshopped, and there was a huge uproar when it came out that they were still actually Photoshopped, and people felt betrayed by marketers, which I find interesting. That's what marketers do. They will lie to you, all right? Let's move on a bit. Can you escape the market? Not really. If you want to be in the market, then you will be surrounded by the market. And marketers exploit the market in order to try and get the most out of you. It is a competitive environment. You have choices. You have an opportunity to shop wherever you want, to use services whatever you want. Even if you say, I am actively choosing not to engage with that, we call that anti-consumer behavior, and we have a whole academic field dedicated to that. If you wanted to purchase sustainable products and you say, I'm going to purchase products that represent this, we have whole people in our department at UC that are world experts in this. We are all studying this because they're so well understood by marketers that they're already there. The only way you can escape this really is to go completely off the grid and separate yourself from society, but then you're back to the whole Spider-Man, Batman situation. That sounds like being countercultural. That is not socially normative, and people go, that's a weirdo who's gone and done that, all right? And you don't fit in again. Be mindful of what you purchase. Every time you purchase something, and especially if you use a loyalty card, that gets tracked. What you sign up for. So when you go and sign up for something, I went and bought a new bike chain the other day. Do you want to join our mailing club and go into the draw for a $500 thing? Fine. I've already got 5 emails, and it was only 3 days ago that I bought this chain. So I have to block them now, and it's a pain in the ass, all right? And watch what you watch online. Everything you see online, everything you search, everything you watch, that is all, again, tracked. That's what those internet cookies are doing. They're tracking your environment. If you share a Google account, like my wife and I does, she gets a lot of recommendations about what's happening at Liverpool Football Club. She gets a lot of recommendations about what's the next best hike you can do. My wife doesn't like football/hiking, so it's a bit weird. And then occasionally something about financial literacy will come in. I'm like, I don't need this. I'm a marketer. I spend the money, not make the money. Anyway, look around. And don't just look around from shop to shop. Don't just look around online. Look around when you're actually in the shop as well. If you go into a supermarket, we all have probably shopped at supermarkets. The prime real estate is at eye level. That is the most expensive product. So if you're looking for popcorn, for example, and you see a brand of popcorn at eye level, look down. That's the cheaper real estate, and it's probably a cheaper brand right there. Turn around. Be a mindful consumer. Look at how much sugar, salt is in that sort of stuff. The only place where it's not at eye level that is the real estate, prime real estate, is, does anyone know? The confectionery aisle. Yeah, chocolate. That's where it's at eye level for kids. The average height for a 10-year-old. Because the pest to power associated with that is quite powerful. Because they'll go, Mum, I want this one. Dad, I want this one. All right? Really be mindful of this, because the research has been done so much so that people already know where the most money is going to be made. If you go into major department stores, Ballantyne's is just around the corner, you will find that it's hard floor in between sections and then carpeted within the sections. Because someone in America a few decades ago did some research to say people move quicker on hard floors and slightly slower on carpeted floors. And the longer you spend in a section, the more likely you're going to touch different garments. If you touch garments for longer, you're more likely to buy something. All of this works. You go into McDonald's during lunchtime, music is a little faster. During non-peak hours, music is a little slower. Because during the fast time, they want you eating quickly out the door because they need the space. During the slower times, an empty restaurant looks bad, so slow down. Don't eat so fast, because if we have a completely empty restaurant, it looks like something's wrong. Little tricks that marketers use and do in order to mess with your mind, and you don't even realize it sometimes. Use incognito mode. I really encourage this, in particular if you're searching for travel. If you are looking at trying to book a trip and you are looking in your regular, normal Chrome mode, then that will all get stored, and you will start to get emails about it. And when you actually go to book it, you might actually find that the price jumps up a bit. So use incognito mode, or even use a VPN. Whenever I book a hire car, I pretend to be an American, because Americans refuse to pay New Zealand prices for hire cars. So if I'm in San Francisco booking a car in Wellington, much cheaper than if I'm in Christchurch booking a car in Wellington. Little things like that, because they know the market is different. And then finally, if you can, hack the system. How many people like pizza? Few people like pizza. There we go. If you're going to Google, if you're going to buy Domino's Pizza, what should you Google? Don't Google Domino's Pizza, because this is what comes up. Domino's Pizza, order Domino's Pizza, Domino's Pizza, Domino's Pizza, blah, 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 blah. If you Google Pizza Hut, you get a 30% off coupon. They know that when people are ordering Pizza Hut, that they are going to try and get them in here. So really simple little things that you can do to hack the system and use it for you. I'm going to finish up real quickly. This is apparently who we are. Well, who we are from that picture looks like it's definitely 80s, if not 70s. Christchurch is the Garden City. Does anyone know what our identity is at the moment? What Christchurch, the Earthquake City? Unofficially, yes. Survivor City, those are things. Officially, we've been called the City of Exploration for the last 5 or 6 years. How many people knew that? Not many people. You know, your rates are being paid into this. Now, as of, let me just check my watch, 7 o'clock now, so as of about 9 hours ago, they launched the new city identity for the city. They have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in developing this. I have very strong opinions on this because I helped the team about 2 years ago write the methodology and what they should do, and then I stepped away and let them go and do it. And I'm not sure if I can tell you because this is being recorded, but I also know that Christchurch NZ has launched on LinkedIn a video regarding what this is. So who we are and who we aspire to be is really important in my mind, because that will help us determine where we go, not just with our life, but also with the products and things we choose. So does anybody know what our new identity is? We are the city of rivers? No. Christchurch, the city of balance. Yeah. Best of both worlds. Work and play. Mountains and sea. Yeah. And you know what? The first time I heard it, I went, this is ass. Oh my God. The city of balance? I mean, is this an earthquake thing? I don't know. What's going on? But to be honest, as time has gone on, I'm like, I guess. I mean, not to be too rude. We left the UK 14 years ago to come back to New Zealand. My wife's from Tauranga. We always thought we should raise the kids in New Zealand. And we thought that Christchurch would provide us the best balance of other things. But at the same time, we don't want to be a city where people come to retire or people come to settle or slow down. We want that vibrancy as well. So translating that into something else, I think is going to be really, really fundamental. 1st of May is the public launch of this. You didn't hear it from me. Delete the tech. No, I'm kidding. So I always like to add in this I've not been paying attention slide. So marketing is manipulative. At its heart, it can be manipulative. Not all marketers are manipulative, but some are, and just be wary of that. Marketers draw on our need to connect with others, because if you feel like you fit in, you are more likely to buy and use those things that help you fit in and repeat those things. It's not easy to escape this. It is very difficult to get away from all that. You can take control. You can hack the system. You can be that person that is countercultural, but that does have consequences as well. Knowledge makes marketers powerful. Hopefully you've learned one or two things today that has helped you be powerful, and hopefully helped you with understanding how this is happening, even if it's a little bit under the surface. And I'm going to finish there and open it up for Kōrero and for Karo. How are you guys going? Ideas, questions? My wife did tell me there's a clock right there, and I really didn't pay attention to what time I started, so I don't know if I'm on time.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me how I can find out what Google thinks about me?
Yeah, really easy. So if you go and just Google, there's a specific website that is held by Google, but if you Google, if you go in and Google profile or Google ads about me or something like that, it will come up. And it's something like adspace.google.com or something like that. And that will tell you, if you're logged in on your Google account, that will tell you what it is. And Google will draw that information not just from what you search, but anything on YouTube, which is owned by Google, and then social medias as well, because you are logging in through Google, all that gets recorded. So if you just Google, what does Google know about me? And it'll come up. Yo.
Is there any way that, I mean, you can ask Google to delete a lot of stuff, but
For
is
sure.
there any other way to sort of mask your previous?
Is this your partner sitting next to you? Is there a way? Yes, there are. You know, you can have Google wipe your thing. I would use incognito mode is another way to do it. At the same time, you know, when I talk to how old are you, sir? Sorry? 30s. The people I speak to who are in their 30s and below really don't care so much. It's people in my age group, 40 and above, who are like, oh my goodness, it's not private. People know about us. Like, I click accept all the time. I click accept the terms and conditions all the time. I don't really care. You can ask Google to wipe it. You can use incognito mode. You can use different browsers. If any of you have used the Onion or the Tor browser, that's another way to hide. All the computer scientists go, that's another way to do it, especially if you want to start searching some really nasty stuff. But I wouldn't. That's a whole other talk. If we did a talk on the dark web and things like that, which still being recorded. If you need drugs, this is what you Google. Don't Google drug. No. But yes, so there are different browsers you can use with heightened security. I mean, are you losing that much? I mean, I don't know how many of you saw the Congress discussion about TikTok with the head of TikTok. That was just embarrassing. A bunch of people in their 70s trying to understand how the TikToks work. It's like, oh, if anything makes you more fearful for the world, that kind of does. But a lot of young people that I've spoken to since have said, don't really care. really don't care about that when it comes to TikTok. If the Chinese are spying on me, they're super disappointed. They're seeing cocktail recipes and what flights I want to pick, which I can't afford. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Do you have any information on whether or not the services are taking information that we might not be voluntarily giving?
Yeah.
I feel like we've all experienced this idea of like, oh, I just talked about something the other day, I've Googled it all, and suddenly I recommended.
Yeah, so the question is for the recording, do we know about what services are taking information that we don't know about or we aren't aware of? Technically, you are aware of these and you have signed up because every time you put your Fitbit on, you accept the terms and conditions. Every time you logged into Facebook, you accept the terms and conditions. But reality is most consumers don't know this. There was a study done in the US. How many people wear a smartwatch or a Fitbit or something like that? So most people have got something like that. On average, those Fitbits are linked to 51 third-party sites. Okay, people thought maybe Fitbit, maybe Apple, maybe a couple of things, but 51 different sites on average are watching and monitoring your heart rate, your steps, blah, 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 blah. Now that's quite a bit, and we don't realize. Do you want to escape that? Yes, if you are like, I don't like this, and I especially don't like people profiting off this, you can set your settings up to lock that all down. But does it change your life for the better? Are we really missing out? It really comes down to, for me, it's about agency. A lot of the research is about consumer responsibilization. That means you should be responsible. You should decide what is right and wrong for you, and it's your fault if you don't know that. Now, I think that's a bit weak. I think there can be some stuff done by service providers, especially online ones, who provide greater agency to their consumers and say, this is why we want to protect your things. There are policies that have changed. The GDPR in Europe was brought into effect to try and give more control. I don't know about you, but every time it says, hey, you have the control. Do you want to accept cookies? I'm like, just let me read the article, all right? Get out of the way. So it kind of has gone the other way. But great question. Last question, or are we out of time?
I would encourage you all to ask me more questions on how to hide your personality on the internet in a break. But we're going to take a quick break right now. Just thank you, Ekant, one more time.